Hello and welcome. I'm Bev from Living Fabulously, and today I'm so delighted to introduce my guest, Claire Tait. She is the most beautiful and joyful person that I admire. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you so much, Bev, and thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here.
That's great. So what I wanted to just start with is tell me a bit about yourself and what it is that you do, Claire.
Perfect. Okay, so where do we start? Because people often ask, what is a kinesiologist? So I am a kinesiologist, and, to try and describe kinesiology, actually, I'll leave that for another question. So really, I've only been a kinesiologist for 10 years. I mean, I say only, 10 years is quite a while, but I have been around much longer than that and done lots of different things leading up to that. But kinesiology really is just a beautiful natural therapy, which guides us. It's hard to describe, but for me, it guides us back to ourselves and who we intrinsically should be if everything in the world was good and right, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. So describe your journey. You've, like me, you're a migrant to Australia, but tell me more about your journey to getting to be this kinesiologist.
Right, okay. It's been a long, long journey, let me tell you. And it's good in a way because it's been a real lesson for clients that I have, because one of the things that I speak a lot about is finding your purpose and finding your joy and not giving up until you find it. And so for me, it wasn't as if when I was 12, I knew I wanted to be a kinesiologist. Kinesiology was around then, but of course it was not a subject offered or anything. It was not something one knew about. So I've done tons of different things. My first degree was as a commerce degree because that was a very responsible degree, which I hated from the beginning, but it was, it was something that I knew I could get a job with anywhere in the world, so I did it. I have done waitressing, I have done secondhand car sales, you name it, I've probably done it, even for a short bit of time. But the thing was, I always knew that I should, by nature, be happy, be overflowing with joy. And generally, I am a very happy person, but I knew if in a job I was not satisfied, that wasn't the job for me. And so for me, it was a continual search. And I've often said, I'm being the jack of all trades or the Jill of all trades, but the master of none. But finally, 10 years ago, I found my thing, and I'm now learning to master it because, of course, we never really master anything, do we? It's a constant learning thing. So that is a good lesson for my clients to see as well, is that you just keep on going. You keep on trying new things. You keep on exploring until you find the thing that gives you such peace inside of you, until you find the thing where you say, the world is good, everything is right. And that's when you know that you've found your purpose. Yeah, it took me a long time, but, in my 40th year, I found it. So, you get there eventually.
Yes.
I would have loved at 18 to know what I was doing, but that just wasn't the case. So multiple things. And for me, the thing with finally choosing kinesiology, it's not like, because it sounds a bit extreme going from, commerce and accounting to kinesiology. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. That is very much me, though. I think I'm quite balanced in terms of right and left brain, and it brings a lot to sessions as well, especially for the businesswomen that I work with, because I do have that ability to connect with left brain stuff. And then I naturally have a lot of strength in my right brain. But what was my point about saying this was, yes, that journey, to finding, what you need to do. Look at that as a journey. We all know that saying, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And ultimately, you will get there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And so you mentioned kinesiology in passing. So, and we said we'd come back to that. But so let's just say, what is the practice of kinesiology, so that we're all talking about the same thing?
Yeah. So kinesiology is, from a broad spectrum, it's a beautiful marriage between Western chiropractic work. So if you've ever been to a chiropractor and they've like moved your body in that, they're doing what's called muscle monitoring. That's the aspect that we as kinesiologists use. We use it as a form of biofeedback. So we literally muscle monitor what's going on, and that's how I interpret what the messages my clients' bodies are giving me. So that's coming from the chiropractic side, but then it's married with traditional Chinese medicine. So I use a lot of the philosophies of traditional Chinese medicine. And for me, that is a beautiful thing. Traditional Chinese medicine is over 3,000 years old. And we know if something lasts that long, then it works. Do you know what I mean? If something's not going to work, it's not going to be around that long. Yes. So for me, it's a beautiful marriage between East and West. A lot, you know, there are lots of kinesiologists specialize in different aspects of kinesiology. You know, so you might have some that really look at structure a lot, or allergies, etc. Mine is far more based around the emotional, spiritual side of things. Yeah, and it was developed by 2 chiropractors. So that's where it stems from. That's the history of it. It's just a beautiful, now that's the formal way of saying it, but for me, how I interpret it is, it's just a way of, if you come to me, Bev, and you have a certain issue, on a conscious level, you think that issue is X, right? Then by using muscle monitoring, we're actually accessing your subconscious. So it's not that we're negating what you think consciously the issue is. It's we then ask your body, and of course our bodies are wise. You know, they're not going to lie to us about anything, whereas on a conscious level, we don't intentionally lie, but we have all these layers that make us believe certain things, or we think it's, you know, something when it's not. So the power of kinesiology for me is that we're asking the subconscious and we work through that. And that's, you know, that's how it differs really, I suppose, to say traditional talk therapy, etc. We're saying, okay, Bev, you're saying this problem is X. Your body's saying, well, let's look at Y. And what we then do is with the kinesiology, we clear Y, and then that often means that X will dissipate because your body has told me that actually beneath X is Y, and let's work on that. And that's another thing. When I talk to your body through the muscle monitoring, which is the biofeedback, I'll always ask what is the priority we need to be working on. And that's a key thing as well, because again, my client might think their priority is this, but actually their body will show me, well, actually it's that. But by working on that, we often clear this. It's a beautiful, it's like poetry. It's energetic poetry.
Oh, that's a beautiful description, energetic poetry. So how then will a session with a client, describe how a session may unfold?
Okie dokes. Well, first of all, that's a bit tricky because there would never be one straight answer to that, because of course we're all unique and we all have unique issues. And having said that, even if this person came to me with what they believe their issue is, so say it's the same issue for 3 people, what we need to do might be totally different for all 3, because underneath that issue might be different things for all 3 of those people. That's why I could never give you a direct answer, this is exactly what we do. But basically what you do, you would come to me and you'd say, okay, this is my problem. I'm feeling lost. I'm not feeling connected to my body. I'm not, whatever the issue is. You know, I know that there's more to life. I'm not feeling good. I can feel that something's off. I'm feeling, whatever the issue is. We'll talk about it a little bit. And that sets up an energetic communication between the 2 of us. All the while that you are talking, I will be muscle monitoring. And whether I see you in person, I'll be muscle monitoring on you. But if I see you online, then I muscle monitor on myself. I just surrogate for you. And so all the time I'll be muscle monitoring and seeing what your body is saying to what the client is saying. And I'll say, okay, well, you're saying this. your body's showing me your, for example, heart meridian. When we look at our heart meridian is about self-love, and then we'll talk about that, are you doing things to care for yourself? Are you a confident person? Do you believe in yourself, etc.? And so we go through that. And then I'll ask the body for, what is it that we need to clear? And then your body might show me, well, it's an acupoint. And if you know anything about acupoints lie on meridians. So we might need to do a meridian clearing. We might need to do breath work on an acupoint. We might need to do an affirmation. The list is endless because one can source from anywhere. And that's, again, it's, as I said to you, it's muscle monitoring for what that person needs. And really, the sky's the limit for what their body chooses the solution to be.
Ah, yes. So it seems to be a very gentle, holistic, self-regulating in a sense, because I guess the body in its wisdom won't take you to the point where you're not able to. So it's like the layers of the onion.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly. It's very gentle. It's non-invasive. It's one thing. A couple of people have mentioned. It's not as if your body will tell me something that you are not ready to hear. It's odd. A couple of people have thought that I can find out like secrets, or I don't know where they get that idea from, but it's like that. It's a bit like witchy, like I can find out stuff. If your body's not ready to work on that and not ready to release it, it will not show it to me. So, and that's again when I talk about what is the priority they need to work on. We all have tons of little things going on, right? And so a client might have something really deep and dark, but if they're not ready to work on that, then their body's going to show me that thing above there. And maybe after a few sessions, it might let us go a little bit deeper, etc. But never, ever does it. And that's the one thing I love. It's not often that you're going to fall apart and be unable to cope. No. It's not as if I want to bring my clients to tears. No. Sometimes they'll have a little bit of a cry, but that for me is not an important thing. I know some therapists, they think it's a very good thing because it's a releasing thing, and it can be, but for me, it's more about my client gaining that self-awareness around what's going on, and then being gently able to move into that next layer, as opposed to being just rushing at it and like bombing everything at it. Because for most of us, because I work with adults, we've got lots going on. So you don't want to unpack that all on one day. You don't, because then you'll fall apart in a heap. You want to just take off the thing and peek at it and see it, and does that feel good to release, etc. Not, throw everything back at it and you sit there like a, naked little person and in the glare lights.
So it's time for integration before your body probably gets to the next step of healing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so Claire, how do you use kinesiology to facilitate change in your well-being?
Okay, yes. Well, again, going back to this speaking about your body's wisdom and our innate intelligence, it's something that I've mentioned before. Our bodies, they perform hundreds of functions every single second without our conscious awareness. So all the while we're talking, your vascular system's working, your neurolymphatic, everything's going on without us saying, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. So my thing is, if your body can do that, then it has the ability to self-heal. Like, it wants to self-heal. It's just us, with all our crazy practices that make us not. Do you know what I mean? So always looking to what your body has to say. So in a kinesiology session, your body's always going to be telling me what it is that you need to be doing to live a better life, to be a happy person, to get to your goal, to release whatever. So it's just quite a natural way, by listening to the body, to let us know what that we need, what it is that we need to do. And that might come from structure, biochemistry, psychology, electromagnetic, spiritual. there's a whole range of things that I'll test with your body. Your body will show me, okay, well, right now, she needs to look at this. And then we'll look at that, we work on that, and then, you know, maybe that can clear that aspect of the person's well-being.
Okay. So it's not like I could say, I could state the problem that I think I'm coming to you for, but during the process of working with me, you're actually having the body talk, so to speak, and the body sort of saying, this is where I want to go, this is how I want to, you know, where I want to take this. And so doing the changes actually at a holistic level, it's not intellectual, it's not just one aspect of ourselves, it's a holistic way of healing.
Exactly, that's exactly it. It's so, and that's why, I mean, the form of kinesiology I do is holistic kinesiology. It's looking at multiple aspects, because, and really that's the way to do it. I mean, it's crazy when one looks at one system in isolation. We all know that all of the systems interact and interplay. So we have to look at it all together. And how I like to work is the kinesiologist who's more interested in the emotional, spiritual. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking spiritual religion type thing. I'm talking more the etheric type work. And when we look at our bodies as energetic beings, we have these multiple layers, so physical, etheric, mental, monadic, divine, etc., as we go out. And the theory is that any type of illness or disease, etc., will start in your outer layers. So that's why I'm always interested in looking at those outer layers, in looking at those spiritual, etheric layers, because we're going to catch stuff there before it moves down into the physical and becomes a physical illness, you know, so whatever that might be, heart disease, etc. Let's try and look at it, step back and look big picture, and your body will tell me what's sitting outside, what's waiting there, etc. And let's deal with those and clear those before. And that's why we say deal with an issue before it becomes a crisis. You know, when you get that little inkling that something is not right, listen to that inkling, because something is not right.
And so it's preventative in many ways, but it also could be curative. So you're working at both ends of the spectrum of well-being, because if somebody's coming to you, perhaps they're recognizing some of those signals that, you know, life is not unfolding the way that they feel to be. So they might not know what the problem is, or you may have somebody come to you that has got a specific physical ailment, and you can then, so you're sort of working across a beautiful spectrum like that, where, like you say, can be at a preventative level, but it also can be at that healing level when there's already, you know, that I think there's some of us, and I include myself, that have actually not been aware beyond the physical body, you know, where we haven't had that awareness. And so, yes, something has happened, and then, you know, then we're looking to heal, but you're working at different levels. So people can come to you at any stage of that journey.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I mean, the first prize is to come when you get that inkling, but the vast majority of people are like you, Bev. We don't. We come when it becomes, we go to the person when it has already become physical. Yeah. So in the ideal world, yes, you listen to that intuition, and it's something I really try and teach my clients, is to really listen to their bodies, because your body is every single day is giving you a clue as to what is going on. But from a Western perspective, we have been so attuned, and it's just, you know, it's just these last 100 years or so where the medical world has made us focus so much on symptoms and the physical, that we've lost that ability to really connect in with these messages from the body. You know, we've handed that over to doctors, etc. It has swung around a lot, which is beautiful to see. You know, we have a lot of holistic, integrative doctors that now know that they can't just consider the physical, that they need to consider more than that. So yes, you know, you would see a kinesiologist for that little inkling. But then you would also see a kinesiologist when that illness has, manifested physically as well. And then we work from that aspect. Your body's always, always wanting to come back into balance. And that's the thing. Like, your body does not want to be sick. It will always want to. So even when we're really sick, the kinesiology is going to help. Okay, so what can we do to reduce those symptoms? And by the way, kinesiology doesn't diagnose and work per se with symptoms. I'll listen to what they are, and then we'll ask your body, what is it that they need to do. But it's not like we have a protocol that says, okay, well, for heart disease, you're going to look at the heart meridian. Yeah. You maybe for one person it might be, but for another person it actually might be their spleen meridian, which is all about worry, which has caused them stress, which has caused them the heart disease, if you get what I'm saying. So, yeah, it's as I said, it really is poetry, and it's something where I'm kept on my feet all the time, because, as I say, I can't assume that because the person's coming to me for anxiety that I've got one protocol that I can follow that for that person. It's not going to happen.
And what you said there is, I recognize that when writing my own book around navigating chronic health issues, is that
right.
The Western medicine model sees us, even if you think of it, you go to an ENT specialist for your nose and throat, you go to a cardiologist for your heart. It's segmented, this amazing network and system of functions, and so they are all treated separately in itself. So I love that your work brings everything back, to the body as a whole, and also then the spiritual and emotional and the other, like you said, the energetic components of the body too. So that's really fascinating for me. And so, Claire, can you recommend an action that listeners could take that would support them?
Okay. One action. There are multiple.
I know we could be here all day.
Yes. Okay. So when you say action, I think just having, from what we've spoken about these last 10 minutes or so, if people could, number one, tune into their body more. And I know that sounds really weird to some people, but if you can start listening to your body more, and that's not, and we can do this, a very good way to do that actually is in meditation. And a lot of people will go, oh, yawn, you meditate, I can't meditate. But I would encourage people, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, and there's some great apps out there. I use Insight Timer, that's my favorite one, because it's in meditation, it's in that quiet time that we can often hear what our bodies are saying. Because, we're so busy that, that we don't hear what our bodies are saying. So it's in that quiet time. And if you don't want to meditate, you don't have to, but then have a time when you can sit quietly with yourself. And that's really sitting quietly. That's not sitting watching TV quietly. That's just sitting quietly. And actually going through your body and thinking, how does it feel? And it sounds really left of center, but that will give you a clue if, and we get better and better at it, by the way, the more we practice, like anything. So you get better. Your intuitive understanding of how your body works will get better and better, and you'll get these clues, and you'll think, actually, last week I didn't feel that way. Why is that? And often a good idea with that type of thing is to keep a journal. You can just make a note. Okay, well, I felt happy these times, or I felt stressed these times, etc. And then you can sometimes see a pattern occurring, and then you could maybe see your kinesiologist. So, that would be a big thing, is listening to your body and, choosing meditation through that. And then another thing which I absolutely love is using affirmations. And there's a lot of information on Google about how to use affirmations, but I particularly love affirmations because an affirmation is, you're saying something out loud. Saying something out loud is a form of sound therapy. It really, really is. Yeah. What you say is what you become. And so with affirmations, a lot of people are reluctant to try it because they say, well, I said it and it doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound true. And I always encourage people to persist. And you fake it till you make it type thing, because eventually, because what you're doing energetically by saying this affirmation, and whatever your affirmation might be, I live in joy, or my body works perfectly. So, okay, so say for example, like I have osteoarthritis in my knees. So say I choose the affirmation, my body works perfectly. Yeah, it's not going to sound true, especially when I'm trying to bend down and my knees clicking and clacking. But what's happening is you're sending that message out into the universe, and this is what I'm talking about energetically. And what slowly will start to happen is the universe constantly hears me saying, my body works perfectly, my body works perfectly. And ultimately what will happen is the universe starts to realign everything in my life so that my body does work perfectly. P.S. The thing is here, that affirmation might not heal my osteoarthritis. It's how it's going to change my perspective of what my osteoarthritis is, what I can do, how I can adjust my lifestyle, etc. But the key is coming to a feeling of peace around that. It may as well, it very well could cure it. That it's a very important thing to say, okay, well, and this is where some people get confused. They think, okay, well, I say the affirmation, therefore I'm going to get that. Yeah, you're going to get it, but maybe in a different format. That you're going to come to a place of peace around that, which is the important thing. Because when we can come to a place of peace, even with an illness, you live a happier life because you've adjusted.
Yes, exactly. That's so important. And Claire, what are your tips for living fabulously?
My tips for living fabulously. Well, this is going to sound boring, but I have 5 pillars that I always will harp on about with my clients. And it's like anything, you have to have strong foundations for a house to be built. You have to have, when you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and us wanting to get to this pinnacle where we have enlightenment and nirvana, etc., you've still got to have that base working well. So I'll always say to my clients, let's first get that right. Well, I'll ask their bodies, but let me tell you, their bodies always want these 5 pillars. And these 5 pillars are nutritious food, plenty of clean, pure water, sleep, restorative sleep, exercise of some sort, and that's even if you're restricted in some way, there is something that you can do, but getting your body to move. And then the 5th thing is having something that gives you purpose and joy, and that could be your job, it could be your volunteer work, it could be looking after your grandchildren, but it could be looking after your pet. And that's why they'll often say with older people it's good for them to have a pet, because it gives them a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to go for a walk, etc. But for me, and by the way, none of us have all of those 5 working perfectly all of the time. It's a constant work in progress. But the food, the water, the exercise, the sleep, and having something that you're passionate about, and that last thing is the thing that most people will come and see me for. Because lots of my clients are quite good with those other things, but it's finding that thing that makes you want to get up in the morning and makes you know that the world is good, and actually, I have a purpose, and I have a mission on this earth. And mission sounds big. I'm not saying save the world, but your mission might just be to give comfort to your family and nurture your children. Yes, so those 5 things, those 5 pillars, as boring as they are, really are the key for me to building and moving up to that nirvana and that happiness.
That's fabulous, Claire, because those are the pillars that I work in. So
they are.
Yes, we're very aligned on our message there for our tips for living fabulously. So
well, they're sensible. They're the sensible, and anyone who's sensible will tell you work on those.
Yeah, they are foundational, for well-being at any level when you don't have those 5 things in place, So I sort of work similarly to you, where I'm looking at the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the soulful aspects of ourselves, because you can feed, you could if you don't get those base level stuff right in the, you know, the physical level, a lot of the others actually come into play, like you mentioned, anxiety or those type of things. So it's sort of, yeah, it's insurance for well-being is I would say, you know, for those five things. Fantastic.
Yes, insurance is boring. Those 5 things can be so boring to hear. but let's keep it real.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Exactly. You want to live fabulously, look after those 5 pillars.
Yes, brilliant. And you can find Claire Tait at her website, which is www.clairetait.com.au, and also on Facebook under Claire Tait Kinesiologist. Thank you, Claire, so much for being with me today. I feel it's really a conversation that needed to be had, because I think holistic healing is much more relevant today than it probably was in the past, because of the stressful world that we live in and the pace that we live at, you know. So I love your simplicity of coming back and being in touch with your body, listening to the signals that it's giving you, and, you know, being quiet and taking action then on those signals, and, you know, finding the right level of support. And I love the way that you work with your clients, and it's just something meaningful that I'm co-partnering with you. It's not that I'm being done to, and I think that's what's so special about the way you work, Claire. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you so much, Viv. I really appreciate you taking some interest, and I've loved chatting to you.